The show begins with Christy walking home with her best friend Mary, telling her all about her day and what happened with her teacher until they reach Mary's house. Christy continues the rest of the way alone and spots Claudia, who used to be one of her closest friends, until Claudia decided to meet new people and focus more on fashion than her old friends. Christy lives with her siblings and her mom, while their dad has been gone for a long time and doesn't check in on them anymore. Their mother, Elizabeth, is the one responsible for everything at home. One day, Elizabeth has an important meeting and knows she'll be late, so she asks her son Sam to watch his younger brother David because he can't stay home alone. Meanwhile, Christy plans to sleep over at Mary's. With no other option, Elizabeth decides she needs to hire a babysitter for David. She thinks it'll be easy, but after calling everyone she knows, she finds out they're either busy or way too expensive, and she simply can't afford it. She even tries going to a babysitting website, only to discover her membership has expired and she'd have to pay $80 just to access it. Christy realizes how desperate her mother is to find someone to babysit David, and suddenly she comes up with the best idea she's ever had, starting her own babysitting club. She shares the idea with Mary during the sleepover, and Mary absolutely loves it. They agree they need to grow the club and add at least one more person to help. They decide to ask Claudia, so Christy brings up the idea in class. Claudia approves right away and tells them they can hold their first meeting at her house. They find out that Claudia has brought her friend Stacy to help them launch their club. Christy explains her plan to create a babysitters club, a service that provides babysitters throughout the week at any time for families who need help, all for a price lower than anyone else offers. That's what she believes will make them successful. All calls will go through one landline number at Claudia's house, and they'll meet 3 times a week to answer the phone and handle requests. Stacy says she'll promote the club on social media and take charge of the marketing, and they all agree to get started. As soon as Christy gets home, she finds Watson, her mom's boyfriend, there having dinner with them. He talks to her about her new club and gives her some advice, until her mom announces that Watson has something important to share. He proposed to her and wants to marry her. All of Elizabeth's kids are shocked and remain silent, except Christy, who refuses to accept her mom getting married. She speaks in a rude way, so her mom asks her to go to her room immediately. Christy sits at her computer to write an apology letter to her mom, but instead she sees a message from Claudia asking for her opinion on the new club logo. The next day, they all meet again, and Christy declares that she'll be the president since the club was her idea. Claudia will be her vice president because the meetings are in her house, and Stacy will be in charge of marketing and advertising. Mary says she'll handle the accounts, records, and take notes of all the important points in every meeting. So she becomes the secretary. Everyone agrees on their roles, and they start thinking about creating an Instagram page to advertise the club. But Janine, Claudia's sister, overhears them and tells them that if they want clients close to their neighborhood and better engagement, they should rely on printed flyers to promote their services. So they print the flyers and start hanging them all around their neighborhood. Later, they gather in Claudia's room with the phone right in front of them, waiting, and they finally receive their very first call. Christy answers, and it turns out to be Watson, her mom's boyfriend, needing someone to look after his kids because he'll be at work and they can't stay home alone. Christy asks her friends what they think, and Mary agrees to babysit since Claudia has an art class and Stacy is supposed to be in New York. The next day, Christy takes her dog for a walk and decides to pass by Watson's house to check on how Mary is doing. She ends up spying on them from the yard until a woman yells at her for standing there without permission. Christy lets go of the dog's leash and he runs away. She spends the whole day looking for him until she crosses the street without noticing a car coming her way. The car stops just in time and she discovers it's Stacy, who actually lied about going to New York. Meanwhile, the dog finds his own way back home. Christy tells Elizabeth what happened, and her mom tries to calm her down, reminding her to trust herself and not treat her friends so harshly. The next day, Christy decides to bring everyone pizza as an apology. While they're eating and talking, the phone rings again, their second client. Claudia takes this one according to the schedule Mary created. Soon after, it rings again, and the next babysitting job goes to Stacy. The club is already off to a strong start, and they're all excited to see their idea succeeding. Claudia turns out to be great at babysitting, and she develops a crush on Trevor, a guy from her art class. He asks if she's going to the Halloween party at the end of the week and tells her he'll see her there. She later rushes to tell her friends all about Trevor and asks if they're going to the party too. But Mary says her dad won't let her go because of news reports about someone known as the Phantom Caller, anonymous calls that come before a crime happens. And it always turns out that the calls were coming from inside the house where the crime takes place. So they all get spooked whenever the phone rings. It turns out the call is from Elizabeth, who needs a babysitter for Watson's kids on Friday night because she's going out with him. But Friday is also the day of the party that Stacy and Claudia are planning to attend. And since Christy can't stand Watson or his kids, she decides to give the job to Mary so that she can go to the party. Claudia is very close to her grandmother Mimi, especially since her family only cares about her grades and keeps pressuring her to excel. They warn her that she can't afford to fail anything at school. Janine suggests that since Claudia is so excited about the upcoming dance, if she fails even one subject, her punishment should be not being allowed to attend the party. That's when Claudia realizes she'll be forced to study whether she likes it or not. Claudia isn't the only one struggling with her family. Mary is also dealing with her dad being overly strict and controlling. He gets into an argument with her simply because she was 20 minutes late coming home. And as punishment, he takes away her phone and gives her an old one that she can only use to call him directly. That means Mary can't babysit for Watson on Friday anymore, so she informs the rest of the group about what happened. Christy gets upset because now she's the one who has to babysit Watson's kids, and she snaps at Mary for having a dad who keeps her locked inside the house with all of his strict rules. Mary fires back, asking Christy what she even knows about a father's love, since Christy's dad left them long ago. Mary's words really hurt her, and Christy walks away in tears. Mary runs after her to apologize, while Claudia can't follow because she has a math test she must pass if she wants to go to the party. She heads to class as the test begins. The next day, Claudia finds out she failed, which means she's not allowed to go to the party. But Stacy tells her that if Claudia isn't going, then she won't go either. She hands Claudia her own test paper, the one with a passing grade, and tells her to erase her name and write Claudia's instead. They'll go to the party first, and then Claudia can confess the truth later. Claudia reluctantly agrees and carries out Stacy's plan. Meanwhile, Christy heads to Watson's house to watch his kids, Andrew and Karen. Karen turns out to be a creepy, unsettling little girl despite her age. While they're talking, Christy's phone starts ringing from an unknown number, and she refuses to answer it. Karen tells her it could be the phantom caller, the guy who calls his victims while he's already inside their house. Christy gets even more terrified by Karen's spooky imagination. At the same time, Claudia is getting ready for the party, feeling guilty about lying. Her parents ask to see her test results, so she decides to confess and gives them the real one, the failed paper. She apologizes for lying, and although her parents appreciate her honesty, they still forbid her from going to the party. Back at Watson's house, the unknown number keeps calling until Christy finally picks up, and it's Mary calling from the old phone her dad forced her to use, the kind that doesn't show caller ID. Mary tells her that she wants to apologize for what she said and that she'll see her tomorrow. Meanwhile, Stacy is sitting all alone at the party where she doesn't know anyone. She eventually runs into a teacher whose son she used to babysit, and when the teacher asks who's watching her son now, Christy discovers there's competition, another group calling themselves the Babysitters Agency. Stacy sends their ad to Claudia, and the girls realize someone has stolen their entire idea. They all meet up to figure out who these babysitters are, only to find out they're high schoolers who made their own flashy ad and even copied their logo. The club tries to come up with ways to stand out, and Christy tells them they'll differentiate themselves by bringing fun activities and games kids will love. She adds that they all know each other's babysitting supplies, except Stacy. It turns out Stacy never invited any of them over because she doesn't want anyone to know she has diabetes. She wears an insulin pump attached to her at all times, which is why she never wears short clothes or eats anything around her friends. She's even scared when babysitting that kids might notice the device and tell their parents. One day, while Stacy is babysitting a little girl, she goes outside to find the Babysitters Agency handing out balloons in the yard with their name printed on them. She walks up to the girl in charge, Lacey, the agency's leader, and confronts her, accusing them of stealing their idea, hard work, and even their logo. Lacey just smirks and tells her to go ahead and sue if she thinks ideas can be owned. She says she only made a few improvements and that their agency will be more successful than Christie's club. After that, the phone calls to the club slow down dramatically. The agency even starts calling them with fake babysitting gigs, sending them to wasted sessions just to keep them busy. Christy calls for an urgent meeting and tells the girls they need to do something fast and become more well-known than the agency, or their club is going to suffer. They find out that Christy's brother goes to the same high school as the agency members, so they decide to ask him if he knows anything about Lacey. But before he can answer, Stacy's blood sugar suddenly drops because she forgot to bring her juice with her. She heads home, and her mom finds her not feeling well, so she takes her to the doctor, where she spends the entire day going through tests and checkups. Later, Stacy rejoins the girls, and while they're walking around, they see a little boy they used to babysit playing alone in the street. They rush inside the house and find out that Lacey, who was supposed to be watching him, left him unattended just to hang out with her boyfriend, who had snuck in behind the parents' backs. Stacy immediately calls the boy's mother and reports what Lacey did. The next day, Stacy finds a video of herself online during her diabetic episode, clearly recorded without her knowledge, and she realizes Lacey posted it to ruin the club's reputation. The girls gather again, determined to figure out what's going on. Stacy finally explains her condition to them and admits she's been trying to hide her diabetes, but instead of judging her, they reassure her that they stand by her and that they're going to fix this together. They organize a meeting with all the parents they know. Stacy explains that her condition isn't dangerous when she takes care of herself, and that the episode happened simply because she didn't recognize the symptoms early enough. But now she's doing better and is perfectly capable of babysitting. She manages to convince them that she can take great care of their kids. From that moment on, Stacy decides she will no longer hide her insulin pump. They successfully win back all their clients, and the phone starts ringing again. One of the callers specifically requests Mary to babysit her son, but that's not allowed since they follow a set rotation and schedule. Mary, however, has a weak personality and can't say no. The girls tell her she can't keep being passive and opinionless. She needs to be stronger. Mary gets emotional, starts crying, and goes home. She tells her dad what happened, hoping he'll help her learn how to stand up for herself. But he misunderstands completely and thinks the girls are bullying her. He complains to their parents, and the others end up getting punished because of Mary. The next day at school, they all meet again. Mary has no idea what her dad did until the girls tell her they're grounded and not allowed to go out anymore as punishment for supposedly bullying her. Feeling guilty, Mary goes to sit alone until a new student named Dawn approaches her and asks to join because she doesn't like sitting alone either. Dawn becomes Mary's new friend. Soon after, Mary is once again personally requested to babysit a little girl, and while watching her, the child suddenly develops a fever. Mary panics. She doesn't know who to call, and none of the girls are answering the phone. With no other choice, she rushes the little girl to the hospital. The girl is terrified of doctors and the blue hospital gowns, so Mary steps outside with the doctor and tells him the child is scared and they shouldn't act overly clinical in front of her. She asks if there's something else the girl can wear instead. Her dad happens to be standing nearby, watching her handle the situation so maturely. When the girl's parents arrive and take over, Mary leaves with her dad, who tells her how proud he is of her. Mary decides it's time to change for the better, to grow stronger and improve her personality. Mary goes to the club meeting at Claudia's house and finds them all proud of her and happy about what she did. Her quick thinking helped make the club even more popular. Mary's dad reconnects with Dawn's mom since they were classmates back in school. Dawn is new in town, and Mary tries to convince the girls to let her join the club. But Christy refuses because she has a strict rule. Not just anyone can become a member. Soon after, they get a call from a client with 3 kids. She's overwhelmed, going through a divorce, and feels like her life is falling apart, and her children are extremely wild. Everyone tries to avoid taking the job, but Dawn encourages them to approach the situation more simply and compassionately. So Christy tells her that if she wants to join the club, she can take this assignment as her trial run. Dawn heads to the client's house and finds the place a total mess. She does her best to tidy up and calm the children, and she succeeds on the first day, but each visit becomes more demanding, and the mother starts expecting Dawn to clean the whole house every single time because Dawn made the mistake of doing it once. The pressure becomes overwhelming. Dawn isn't sleeping enough and no longer has time to study. She eventually turns to Christy and asks her for help with schoolwork. One day, while babysitting, Dawn notices the back door is wide open and one of the kids is missing. She panics and immediately calls Christy to come help. They search everywhere until the boy's father walks in holding him, explaining that he took him to swim practice like he always does. It turns out the issue wasn't Dawn's responsibility at all. The mother simply forgot to inform her. Christy starts feeling upset because everyone around her seems to have a dad who cares about them, while her own father abandoned them a year and a half ago and doesn't even call. Dawn comforts her and tells her that if her dad walked away, then she still won because she has her mom and all her friends who care deeply about her. After Dawn goes home, the same client calls again, but Dawn's mother answers the phone instead. She tells the woman never to call her daughter again because she has already put too much responsibility on her. She says if she ever calls back, it should only be to apologize, then hangs up on her. The next day, Claudia and Stacy go to Mary's house because they decided to remodel her bedroom, which looks very old and hasn't been changed in years. Claudia, being the most artistic one with her love for drawing and colors, takes the lead. She transforms Mary's room beautifully, leaving Mary and all the girls amazed by how different it looks. Claudia returns home and spends some time with her sister Janine and her grandmother Mimi, until Mimi suddenly collapses and is rushed to the hospital. Claudia's mom stays with Mimi there, leaving Claudia and Janine alone at home. Soon, all their friends show up to support them and keep them company through the difficult moment. Eventually, they receive good news. Mimi wakes up from the coma and begins recovering. Claudia visits her grandmother, although Mimi's speech is affected by the incident, and there are some memories she can't recall. Even though she remembered one of her worst memories, the doctors say it's actually a good sign that her memory is still functioning. Time passes, and Mimi continues to recover until she is finally able to come home. Life gradually returns to normal, and the girls get back to working on their club. They receive a babysitting offer for a full week out of town, so Mary and Stacy take the job while the rest of the girls stay behind in the city. Dawn tries everything she can to bring Mary's dad and her own mom closer again because she really likes the connection between them. Meanwhile, Mary is at the beach with 8 kids along with Stacy, and they both try to keep them under control. But Stacy notices an older guy nearby and instantly develops a crush on him. She starts focusing on attracting his attention, leaving Mary to handle all the kids by herself. Mary feels overwhelmed and eventually gets into an argument with Stacy for not doing her part. When their day off finally arrives, they go out and manage to meet new friends. Stacy searches for a gift to give the guy she likes, only to find him with his girlfriend. She feels embarrassed and upset, staying in her room the rest of the day. Then she decides she shouldn't waste her time being sad and should enjoy the trip with Mary and the kids instead. The week ends successfully, and they all head back home. Soon, it's time to prepare for Elizabeth and Watson's wedding, which will take place the next day. They're getting married at Watson's house as part of his family tradition, and both families will officially move in together. Elizabeth hears a loud car honking. It's her son driving a brand new car, completely different from the one he had been saving for over the years. Watson proudly reveals that he bought it for him. Elizabeth is upset that he made such a big decision without consulting her, but she's still happy for her son. They all get in the new car and take it for a ride. Christy goes to the club meeting and tells the girls that the wedding preparations are exhausting her, especially with the big move into a larger house. The hardest part for Christy is knowing she's moving away from Mary after having her as a neighbor for so long. She sleeps in her old room for the last time, and when she wakes up the next morning, she's already late and rushes to get ready for the wedding. She sees Elizabeth's dress and gets upset that it was very expensive and that Watson paid for it. Christy argues with her mom, and they both stay upset with each other all the way until the guests arrive and the wedding begins. Watson and Elizabeth get married, and the celebration starts. Christy tries to apologize to her mom, but Elizabeth is too busy. Eventually, Elizabeth gets into the car to leave for the hotel before traveling for her honeymoon. Christy feels hopeless, thinking she missed her chance to apologize, until the car suddenly stops and her mom steps out just to tell her she loves her. Christy apologizes for everything and wishes her mom all the happiness in the world with Watson. Elizabeth gets back in the car, and the rest of the guests continue enjoying the celebration. Summer vacation arrives, and the girls head to their school's camp. They expect to all share one cabin, but instead they end up separated into 3 different ones, which disappoints them a lot. Christy is placed with Stacy, Claudia with Dawn, and Mary. For the first time, has to stay alone with people she doesn't know. But she quickly befriends a girl named Lynn, who also loves theater just like she does. They decide to put on a play together, and the next day, they go to the camp supervisor to sign up for the theater program. When they visit the theater area, they find the place run down and damaged, but they're determined to fix it up and make their show happen. They hold auditions to choose the best performers in the camp, and Logan, the boy Mary has a crush on, signs up. She can't tell him how she feels because she freezes every time he's near her. Stacy auditions as well, but when she gets on stage, she notices Lynn, her former best friend, standing there. Lynn was the one who abandoned her after her diabetic episode and leaked the embarrassing video online. Seeing her again hurts Stacy deeply, and she refuses to continue with her audition. Mary runs after her and tells her she needs to perform because she wants Stacy by her side. She doesn't want to be alone. Stacy agrees and tries to ignore Lynn's presence. Meanwhile, Claudia and Dawn are frustrated because many camp activities are too expensive and not all kids can afford them. They decide to create their own free program in the woods, but the supervisor finds out and blames Claudia, punishing her by grounding her in her cabin, not allowed to go anywhere. Dawn gets angry and decides to lead a rebellion against the camp and its strict supervisor. On the other side of camp, Stacy still can't perform properly with Lynn around. The anger and hurt keep distracting her. Lynn tries to approach her gently, telling her that if she needs a break or some juice, she should rest. Stacy takes it the wrong way, feeling like Lynn is mocking her condition, and storms off into the forest. Lynn chases after her, trying to stop her, but Stacy keeps avoiding her. Lynn slips and falls into some plants. When she tries to help Stacy up, she pulls her down as well. Stacy gets up again and returns to the cabin, her skin starting to burn and itch. Christy is lying in the bunk above her and tells her how upset she is about everyone being separated. Stacy turns and Christy screams. Stacy's entire body is covered in a rash and swelling. The plants she fell into were poison ivy. The poison ivy spreads all over Stacy's body, and Lynn is affected too, since she fell into the same plants. The two are forced to stay together in the same cabin. Meanwhile, Mary has no choice but to take Stacy's place in the play, since she's the only one who knows the script and all the roles. She is the director, after all. They soon realize that Karen is missing from the cast list. Christy searches the entire camp for her and discovers that Karen placed a doll in her bed to make it look like she was still there. They continue searching until they find Karen waiting at the bus stop, planning to go home because she feels she has no friends at camp. Christy tells her that if she truly wants to go home, she'll let her, but she'd really love for Karen to stay and spend the camp together because she's her sister and she loves her. Karen agrees to return with her. Back at camp, they find that a full strike has begun. None of the kids are doing any activities anymore because the costs are too expensive. The supervisor shows up, aware that Claudia and Dawn are the ones who started the protest, and drags them to her office to send them home. All their friends join them, standing together to convince the supervisor to listen to their demands, or they will all leave with them. Christy steps forward and explains to the supervisor that she knows how much this camp means to her. She's been running it for 26 years, and she's clearly overwhelmed because her staff isn't paying attention. She tells her that Karen disappeared from camp and no one even noticed, and that Christy herself had to find her before she got hurt. The supervisor understands her point and realizes they're right. She decides to appoint the girls as junior counselors to help her run the camp. With their help, the camp transforms from a boring, dull place into the best it has been in years, all thanks to the Babysitters Club.